Okay, welcome to the Let's Enjoy Piano Self-Expression method. We're going to look at visualizing diminished 7 chords, the wonderful diminished 7 chord, and how it's used in modulation. So if you don't know your diminished 7 chords, page 70 gives you the regular diminished chord. Page 70 is all laid out in visualization of the diminished chord. And when you combine two diminished chords, at the bottom of page 70, you can see the 7 flat 9. It becomes a 7 flat 9 chord when you put it on the top of a certain root. And different roots go with different roots, with different chords. And I'll show you that in a minute. So, but the 7 flat 9 chord is based on the fully diminished. Here's a visualization on page 66 if you have the book. 66 if you don't, grab a copy. Let's Enjoy Piano, improvising, accompanying, composing, jamming, innovative method for developing those self-expressive skills, but knowing your chords is the main thing, visualizing, then you can improvise. So here's the visualizing diminished 7 chords, and on page 65, this is the altered chords. The fully diminished 7 chord has 4 different inversions of the same chord, and they go to 4 different chords, they go to 4 different roots, and therefore you can use them for modulation. That's number 4. It's there's number 4 on this side. If you can read, if you can't, you can see A diminished 7 equals C diminished 7 equals E flat equals G flat. Now, what does all that mean? This is more of an advanced lesson, so if you don't know your chords, it's not going to help you out. But it's very important to know your diminished chords. So if we look at A diminished, there's A minor, there's a diminished, a flat 5 of the, so as soon as you see a flat 5 chord, it's a diminished. And here's A diminished, right next door is C diminished. Here's C major, C minor, C diminished. So when you put A diminished and you link it with C diminished, you have a fully diminished chord. It's called a fully diminished 7 chord. Even though there's a 6 here, that's called a doubly flatted 7. Don't worry about it. A to F is usually a 6, but we just call it should be a diminished 6, but they haven't called that years, and for many years when music theory started, they call it a double flatted 7, so it's a fully diminished 7. There's the A fully diminished. Now if you flip the A up over here, it's the same notes, but now this is a C fully diminished. And if you flip the C, that's E flat fully diminished. And if you flip it one more time, you have F sharp fully diminished. So A fully diminished equals C fully diminished equals E flat fully diminished equals F sharp fully diminished. They're all equivalent chords because they don't have really any, they don't belong to any key. It can be used for modulation, like I was saying. In the 3rd page of Moonlight Sonata, anybody played classical music, Beethoven goes through all the diminished 7 chords. Instead of going in a root, he alternates. He alternates 1, 3, 1, 5, 3, 7, you know. So this chord is, sorry, he goes. Then he goes on a C diminished, then on the E flat, and the F sharp. So it's a great way to learn your fully diminished chords in a rotating way. Anyway, that's our purpose is modulation today, and each diminished chord has a root. So if you take a skip below the diminished chord, here's A diminished, a skip below, that becomes F7 flat 9. Here's F7, there's the flat 9. This is the 9, there's the 8, 9, flat 9. Now if we flip the diminished 7 chord to a fully diminished C, and you take a root below, that's an A flat 7 flat 9. Same chord. See? Now if you flip it one more time, you have E, and you take, that's a C 7 flat 9. Sorry, that's C7 flat 9. This would be B7 flat 9. Sorry about that. flat 7, flat 9, and F7, flat 9. So F7, flat 9 is equivalent to A flat 7, flat 9, is equivalent to B7, flat 9. And one more flip, D7, flat 9. So they are substitutes for each other. So if you're having a song that has F7, flat 9, you can substitute A flat 7, flat 9. And therefore you can modulate. If you're going from F7, flat 9, F will go to B flat. The 5 of F in the key of B flat, F is the 5 chord. And you go back, you go to B flat. F7, flat 9 to B flat. That's the 5-1. But if you take the same chord, flip it to A flat, same chord, even flip the bass around, you can do that too. Each note, F, A flat, B, D, is another chord. There's A7, flat 9, you can flip either chord. Now A, you can go to the key of D flat. That's your 5-1 in the key of. So on page 20, if you have the book, look on page 20, you have the whole cycle here. So you can substitute the 7 flat 9 for the 7. Here's G7, you can substitute G7 flat 9. What did we just do? We just did the A flat 7 flat 9, and we went to D flat. And we had F7 flat 9, and we went to B flat, major 7, or just B flat regular. So F7 flat 9. But you're in F7. Instead of going to F7, you go to A flat 7. And now you're in the key of D flat. So you can use as a pivot chord, it's called pivot modulation. You can pivot on that chord substitution. Pivot on the 7 flat 9 of the equivalent 7 flat 9, and then you propel yourself into another key. And that works because of tritone substitution. So you can look at A, F, and B, see? And then A flat and D. Those are the 4 substitutes of the bass line. And if you notice, that spells a diminished chord, F fully diminished. So you can substitute F, 7 flat 9, for B, 7 flat 9. There's a tritone, and A flat for D, 7 flat 9. They're all substitutes for each other, because they all have the same tritone. Okay, so A flat and D, and F and B. And if you look across the cycle, that's where tritone substitution comes in. A flat and D across the cycle, and F and B across the cycle. So that is what tritone substitution is across the cycle, taking a 7 flat 9 or dominant 7, since they share the same tritone, and you can substitute that, and you can, for interpretation purposes, or to modulate to someplace else. So it's a little getting down into the weeds, but the book covers beginning things, intermediate things, and advanced harmony, and everything that you really need to know. And if you're putting together a medley, that's what you're going to use, the 7 chord, to modulate into something, to where you're going to the next tune, if you have to change your key. If you're in the same key, then you don't have to modulate. But this is, that's the bottom line. Okay, so any questions, email me at email at let'senjoypiano.com, and if you want some online lessons, a couple lessons to maybe square some of these advanced harmony techniques away, let me know. It's online, all the information. So the main thing is just pick a song that you enjoy and go to it. That's the main thing. Enjoy, let's enjoy piano. That's the bottom line. Okay, thank you very much, and see you next time around.